Charlotte was one of the worst college football teams in the nation last year. Absolutely terrible on offense, could not get it done on that side of the football. And now you've got this 49ers team that wants to bounce back under a head coach in Tim Albin, who has won at Ohio and now wants to get things turned around at Charlotte to get the 49ers back toward the top of the conference. Can it be done? That's what we're talking about today on the You Think You Know Sports podcast, which is brand new. We're making our way around the country currently for college football, previewing everybody, whether it is a Power 4 school or a team in the American like Charlotte. Some of these will be a little bit shorter than others, especially as we get into the non-Power 4 conferences, but I want to treat everybody the same and make sure everybody gets their attention as we preview every team in the country. So Charlotte has got a lot to rebuild here. It starts with the quarterback situation. Grayson Loftus last year was the quarterback for a good part of the year after Connor Harrell got hurt. Harrell had 747 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks last year. He had an ACL and meniscus injuries, and he sprained his MCL. And then you've got Loftus, who threw for over 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 8 picks. They've got a couple other guys. Cole Gonzalez has come in. He is a former Western Carolina, Pittsburgh guy, and a true freshman in Jalen White. Also are technically in the mix. Gonzalez threw only 22 passes at Pittsburgh, but he had over 6,000 yards, 51 touchdowns, and 22 interceptions in 3 years at Western Carolina. So you've got 3 guys who have some experience at the FBS level. One of them is going to have to separate themselves as we get into the fall because Charlotte has got to be much better on offense. But I'll be honest, the real problem, while it wasn't great anywhere, the running game was the bigger issue. We'll get there in a second. They threw the ball on 54% of plays last year, number 27 in the country. When you're throwing it that much, it tells you you're not quite balanced enough. Their only win last year, by the way, was against Monmouth, which is not an FBS opponent. That's a FCS level opponent. So Charlotte did not win a single game against a FBS team last year. They were winless in the American at 0-8. Here's the biggest issue, though, and I mentioned it a second ago. They averaged 2.5 yards per carry. That is number 135 in the country. Basically dead last in the entire nation. They could not get the running game going. They only averaged 260 yards per game, which is number 133 in the country, which is a testament to all of their offensive woes. They only returned 29% of their total snaps from last year. They're outside the top 100 offense and defense in that stat. So what are they doing at running back? Jarrell Cobb, Henry Rutledge are both back. Cobb had 51 carries last year, 190 yards. Rutledge played just one game, but he has 356 yards on 47 carries in his career. They also brought in Kamani Alexander from Appalachian State, Damoun Petit from New Mexico State or Coastal Carolina. He was at Coastal last year. And Chance Williams has come over. He has played at Grambling and Cincinnati in his college career. They brought in Javon Williams, who's come over from Penn State. He's a former 5-star player to bolster the offensive line. He'll go with Christos Fernandez, who's also back on the offensive line, and Gus McGee at tight end, who's also back. There's only 3 starters back on offense. And if you're Charlotte, you got to be able to run the football, man. I think it's that simple. You've got to be able to actually move defenses and take some pressure off of Loftus or Harrell or Gonzalez, whoever ends up getting this job as the starting quarterback for the 49ers. Defensively, there are 4 players back: Jamarian Solomon, Jalen Johnson, Caden Smits, and CJ Clinkscales. Solomon's a defensive lineman. Johnson and Smits are both linebackers. You got Clinkscales at defensive back. The schedule for Charlotte definitely leads you to believe that this is going to be an uphill climb, because we're going to know very early if this is a team that has gotten extremely better or not. They open the season with a game that they should win against the Citadel. Then they play at Ole Miss, okay, on September the 12th, at Appalachian State on September the 19th. So we're going to know very, very early if Charlotte has made some improvement or not. They play 3 of their first 5 at home, though. So the next 2 are Louisiana and Memphis. Both of those teams come to Charlotte. They then have back-to-back road games again at North Texas and at Temple on October the 10th and October 17th. Then they host Tulane, go to UAB, host East Carolina, a team that we are about to post a podcast on. We also have previews all over TikTok. We'll get to that again in a minute. At Tulsa on the 21st, and then they end the year November 28th against Navy. Army's not on this schedule. That's a team I've already broken down from the American, who brings back more offensive snaps than anybody. The question really is there a path for Charlotte to get to a bowl game? I believe there is. I think you're going to have to see a much different looking offense. They're going to have to find the running game. The defense, which was not good enough either last year, is going to have to improve immensely. Opponents threw the ball just 44% of the time. They ran it 56% of the time. Opponents completed 67% of their passes last year. That was number 126 in the country. So when teams can throw the ball on you and complete that high level of passes, they're going to be able to run the game out in the second half. And that's what happened to Charlotte a lot in games last year. So, listen, do I think there's a path? Yeah, we'll see what happens with this Charlotte 49ers team. We'll see how I feel when I get through breaking down the entire American. We're about 2 or 3 teams into that at this point. But, guys, I'm making my way around the country. This is the You Think You Know Sports podcast. We're also available on TikTok. That's kind of where I started this thing. We have over 10,000 followers there. We're also on all the other social media outlets that you can find us on. You can also find a lot more on Charlotte and all the other teams I break down on youthinkyouKnowSports.com. It's spelled just like my username on TikTok and all the other social medias. It's the letter U, not Y-O-U, youthinkyouKnowSports.com. So I hope that you'll come check us out there. Guys, we're going to get into East Carolina next in the American. We're also about to break down Indiana in the Big Ten in the next podcast. So I hope that you'll come hang out with us there. I appreciate you listening on the You Think You Know Sports podcast.